fellow romance book lovers. How are you today? I have got another awesome book. I feel like I say that every single time, but I do. It's one of my very favorite authors. I have read all of her books. I've done videos on a lot of them at this point. The author is Alexandra Silva, and the book we're going to talk about today is Endurance. It's part of Corinne Michaels' Salvation Society series, which she wrote that series. It was a New York Times best-selling series. So what she has done is she has brought in other authors to write books based on that series, which is so cool. There's a few authors doing that, and it's really an interesting take on something that was successful for Corinne. Alexandra was able to do that with this book, Endurance. I actually didn't read Corinne's series. I've read other books of hers before I had my channel. Just the title, Salvation, kind of makes me think about protectors and people coming to help other people and stuff like that. And I love those kind of stories. Like I mentioned, I've done several other videos on Alexandra's books, and I will of course include them in the description box below. She has a playlist on my channel, so definitely go check those out as well. And also remember that I always put a direct Amazon link to the book that we're talking about in the video in the description box below. So if you want to grab the book after you've watched the video, it's right there for you. So let's get to talking about Endurance. Endurance is about Avery and Garrett. Something I love about Alexandra's writing is how she writes relationships. Not only familial relationships, friend relationships, romantic relationships, and there's a lot of meat to this story, and I just eat all of that up. It was the same in her Virtue and Lies series, which is an ongoing series. She's about to release the next book in a few weeks-ish. I can't wait. So she really excels in that kind of really stripping a relationship down, whether it's romantic, friendship, familial, and realizing how hard those relationships can be, working through that and bringing you out the other side. She does such a good job with that. Avery is married when the book starts. She has a daughter, Iris, who's maybe, I think 5 or 6, maybe 7-ish. And her father has just passed away. This book takes place in Washington, D.C., high society D.C. types. And there's also something that I really like about Alexandra's writing is that she just kind of plops you down right in this story, kind of like you're there. Like you're in the middle of all of this that's going on and you already know because you're there, and the story just starts. There's no like build up to where the story, how do I say this? She doesn't have you go through a couple of chapters giving you backstory and then gives you like the story. She just puts you right in the middle of it and takes off running. And I kind of love that. It makes you feel like you're there in a way that is different for me than other authors. I feel like I'm in the book and literally it's going on around me. I hope I'm articulating that well, because I got that feeling with her Virtue and Lies series. I got that feeling with the Imperfect Heart series, and here we are getting it again. And I know that it's the way she crafts the story that you get all the backstory that you need, but it's not at the front of the book. It's while you're reading the story. It's really, really cool. So Avery's dad has just passed away. She was very close to her father. They are very affluent. She's married to Carl, who seems to be up there as well. And it's not a good marriage. Carl is not likable. you know that right away. But you know, on the flip side of that, that Avery has great family friends, great friends, well, mostly great friends. And so you feel for her right away in how Carl treats her at her dad's funeral. And it's like, wow, you are quite, if that's how you're talking to your wife at her father's service, like, you're a jerk, you know? So this book, not that you need a trigger warning, but it does deal with some, there's one area of this book towards the beginning of the book where, and I don't want to give a spoiler and tell you what it is, but there's something that happens between Carl and Avery, and it's really emotional to read. It's very, my heart was in my throat. I felt like I've read that kind of stuff before. Like, I'm getting a little teary about it. I've read it before, but I think because of how I connect with Alex's writing, it was even more emotional for me to read it. Basically, you know, she has to leave with Iris for her life, and it's horrific. Reading all of that just made my heart break. But she has the safety and security of good friends. She goes and they take her in, and it's Charlie and Mark. And reading the aftermath of that and how down she is, because not only has she just lost her father, but her husband did this to her, and she's grieving her father, and like, what the heck is going on with the husband? And she's just in a terrible place when the book starts. And you want the best for her. You know that she is a great woman. And in walks Garrett. Garrett is a friend, a dear friend of, well, he's Mark's brother and a dear friend of Charlie. Charlie and Mark are married. Those are Avery's friends. And he's a cardiologist, he's a doctor. And so they call Garrett and we're like, hey, can you come check her out? Because she doesn't look good. And so he comes to their house as a doctor. And the minute he looks at her, he can assess the situation immediately. He knows what has happened. But this instinct of his ramps up and runs at a higher pitch than his doctor instincts, which are running fast for him because he knows, he can see what happened to her. But also he's taken by surprise by this other instinct of wanting to protect her, wanting to help her. He sees her and he's just like, oh my God, this woman. And I don't want it to sound like it was like cheesy meet cute. It was so not a meet cute. But it was also, I loved reading that about him. And that's where I was kind of going when I was talking about the Salvation Society and what I think that those books are about, and salvation and what that word can mean. And so in a lot of ways, here's Avery's salvation, Garrett. Because this is one of Alexandra's books, I have a bajillion highlights, and I really did try to narrow it down, but you know I always like to share passages with you, and this one is from Avery's perspective. We do get both perspectives, mostly Avery's point of view, but we do get Garrett's as well, which I love. This is from Avery's point of view, and interestingly enough, it's my very first highlight. I'm not going through a lot, I'm going through hell. I'm trying to understand what I didn't see, what I missed. I needed someone to be there for me, and he's too busy calling someone else babe. She cringes, her face flushing red as she swallows down whatever she was about to tell me. It's all bullshit. I shouldn't even have said anything to her without talking to Carl first, but every time we talk, it becomes a fight that turns nasty and volatile. He hauls me around like a rag doll until I concede. So that was my first clue where I was like, oh, okay, he's one of those guys. Luckily, Avery has, like I mentioned, people around her that can help her and places to go. And Garrett wants to be one of those people, but he also realizes that she's not dealing. And by leaving the situation and trying to avoid Carl, that's not going to get her anywhere. That she has to take steps forward to start putting her life into place without him. And this is what Garrett says. I know enough to see that you're avoiding dealing with any of your problems. Take it from a pro, Avery. You can ignore everything that's happened, but it won't ignore you. Isn't that so true? You can ignore your problems, but boy, they are still there, aren't they? You really do feel the stress of Avery's life and what she's going through. And then you feel on the flip side of that, as her and Garrett start to spend more time together, you feel the calmness that he brings her. You feel from his perspective, his attraction to her. You feel his protectiveness. With Avery, you feel how lost she is and how sad it is. And yet, when she's with Garrett, she feels like he's got her back. And they're building this foundation that I loved watch them build. Garrett is quite swoony. He's everything I like about a male character. And these things that he said that just, I was like, oh my God. Highlight, highlight, highlight. Her long dark hair is up in a ponytail that falls to the middle of her back, grazing the low scoop of her blouse. When she turns to look at me, I notice the makeup she's wearing. Beautiful doesn't cut it. Avery is heart-stoppingly stunning, with her big eyes and the faintest of freckles sprinkled over her nose and the apples of her cheeks. And when she smiles, it's pure sunshine, pure effing sunshine. The ultimate drug, a holy grail of hope. Hey, I managed to croak. My heart is hammering so hard in my chest that I can't hear anything over it. Not the alarm bells, not the warning jibes, or the tug for victory of the angel and devil on my shoulders. Avery is all there is, and the sunshine she doesn't realize she has inside her. The goddamn sunshine I'm addicted to. Oh my God, how he loves her. Oh, it's beautiful. I love two parts in particular in a book, and when it happens, I always highlight it because there's a level of intimacy that these two things show, and it's when the hero kisses the heroine on the nose or on the forehead, in a very sweet, reverent way. I love that. And also the hand holding. It just gets me. I love the hand holding. I don't know why. I love when my husband holds my hand. I was devastated when my children decided they didn't want to hold my hand anymore when we would be walking in the grocery store or crossing the street, whatever. Yeah, I hated that. And then also I remember, and I always think about this, is I remember my grandparents held hands all the time. I can remember sitting in the back seat of my grandpa's car and spending time with them, and him reaching over and holding her hand, and then us getting out of the car and walking into the drugstore and him holding her hand or him having her elbow. I love that. And so this passage, I was a pile of mush. Without breaking our stare hold of each other, he draws me to him as he steps closer, pulling me to his chest. Wrapping his arms around me tightly, neither of us moves or speaks. Garrett comes closer. Boldly he threads our fingers together, squeezing our palms together, his tan skin a fraction darker than my own. Veins pulse on the back of his hand as he flexes his hold on mine, kneading our flesh together, a kind of comfort no one has offered me in so long. I love that. Oh my gosh. And then not too far after that, All there is Garrett Dixon, and I cling to him like he could be all my tomorrows. Oh my God, she just has a way with words. Oh my gosh. This book is definitely romantic suspense. There is a lot going on and a lot that happens. This isn't just a fluffy love story. There is a lot of really great drama and suspense in this story. But there's also these wonderful swoony moments, and like I mentioned before, the way she writes relationships and what two people bring to the table and how they find their way through, if they can stay together, if they can't, all of that she does such a good job at. Let me know if you have read Endurance or which of Alex's other books you've read. I would love to hear. Thank you for taking a moment to give the video a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing. When you do that, it not only helps my channel, but it will help this video get shown to more people here on YouTube. I always welcome you to come over and say hi to me on my social media, which is Kat Reads Romance on Facebook and Instagram. And also I have a private Facebook group that I would love you to join. It's called Kat's Romance Readers. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.